Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
Hi, I'm George Luna.
I'm Brittany Pacheco,
I'm Isaiah Bradley.
and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to another edition of the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to talk about the second episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Episode titled The Star-Spangled Man, which is obviously a reference to Captain America. And as we saw at the end of the first episode, there's a new Captain America. But it's not Steve Rogers. It's John Walker. And before we get too far into it, I just want to ask y'all this question I think we all kind of had watching this episode. How bad do you want to punch John Walker in the face? I mean, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, I might get a 14. What about y'all?
Yeah, he has Super Saiyan levels of douchiness that is really attractive about him that I want to just knee him to the face. I agree.
Yeah, there's definitely because I know his dad is Kurt Russell, and Kurt Russell was Ego in Guardians Galaxy
Right.
Volume 2, and I wanted to punch that guy. So yeah, there's like a family resemblance there. Yeah, after this episode with John Walker, definitely doesn't embody that of Captain America, and I just want to punch him in the face and probably also in the dick. So just saying,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
George.
Okay.
Yeah, he's starting to be very annoying and kind of disrespectful in some ways towards Falcon and some of the lines that he said. And yeah, I don't like this guy. But I don't know. I think it's going to get worse from going forward. I don't think it's going to get better.
You know, the way the episode starts, they try to, I mean, they tell his story, and, I like it because, like, he's not just a total bad guy, at least maybe not yet. But, tell the story about how he obviously he was a former, like, high school football player, and he's in his old locker room, and he's, like, about to go out for this pep rally on Good Morning America to, basically announce him as Captain America or introduce him as Captain America to the rest of the world. And, they kind of do this like video package where they're showing like, he's won like 3 medals of honor, and they've tested his body at MIT, and he's like off the charts in every way. And they show him with the shield, and the shield stuff is really cool. Yeah. But it begs the question. No, it screams the question. Is he a super soldier? Is he on the serum? What do y'all think?
Hell yeah. There's no fucking way. He kind of like cut that lady off when she was asking too much about him.
Right.
Kind of like steered it into a different direction. Mm-hmm. The way you saw that footage of him throwing the fucking shield, like it's ridiculous. Like he has to be ridiculously strong or something. I don't know.
I don't know, because like before the series starts in the trailers, you see Falcon throwing the shield and he throws it just fine. Yeah. And he's not a super soldier. I mean, unless he takes a serum later on in the series, but
that could happen.
I don't know. But like I know in the comic books, he does become a super soldier after Captain America is relieved of his duties in the comic books. But
so I kind of have a theory about John Walker and his partner, if you will, his wingman, Battlestar. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I have a theory that in a way they might be behind what's happening with the so-called, flag smashers. Not behind, but like maybe they're somehow going to get involved with like them and get the serum and then become, super soldiers in that way. I don't know. I've never read any of these comics, dealing with John Walker. I just kind of get that feeling that like somehow they're going to encounter like what was the other group that
the flag smashers?
No, following the flag smashers.
LAF.
The Power Brokers.
The Power Brokers.
Thank you. I have a feeling that like maybe if this does happen in the show, that John Walker and Lamar, is that his name, Lamar? That they'll somehow come across these guys and get the serum, and then all hell's gonna really break loose at that point. I don't know. That's just a theory.
Who the hell is Power Brokers? Explain this to me.
I have a theory about that too.
Okay.
About the Power Brokers. So In the comic books, it's just one person. That's and what he did in the comic books is that he supplied super soldier serum to anybody who wanted it at the highest bidder for the highest
Right.
bidder. But it was very expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this incarnation of the power broker, this is very far fetched. But did you guys watch Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the Abomination?
Yes.
Yep.
That was a form of the super soldier serum. Now
Right.
it was a very mutated form of it, wasn't perfected. But do you guys remember who administered that to him?
Was it a General Ross? Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think General Ross is behind this.
Oh, and see, that would then make some kind of sense if Captain America, who, he's got big shoes to fill, he doesn't have the super soldier serum and therefore can't live up to that of, Steve Rogers' qualities.
Right.
He can get there if he gets that super soldier serum.
See,
And General Ross is the only other character in the comic, well, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's toyed with the super soldier serum, not named Hydra or Professor Erskine. They gave it to Steve Rogers. So
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's behind this, and he's the guy that the Flag Smashers stole the serum from.
Yeah, that's
right.
interesting.
So that's another question I have. So are the Flag Smashers, are they villains? Doesn't seem like it. They're referred to as like Robin Hood. They're supposedly taking these vaccines and giving them to people who who need this stuff, who can't get their hands on it. So that's my question. Are they villains at all?
Well, I know they're, so what their mission was in the show is that they want the world back to how it was during the blip, and they feel like the people who return from the blip are getting more attention and more help and more resources than people who actually were there during the blip. So I don't know if they're bad guys. I think what they're trying to do is in good heart and trying to help people who are in need, who survived during the blip. I think the way they're going about it is kind of messed up though. But
yeah,
because they're fighting the government, and because the GRC, they're pretty much the government. They're trying to help people who recover during the blip, and they don't believe in government sanctioned authority, so they're fighting against that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it really just depends on how you view where you stand in your image of what the Flag Smashers represent and what they are.
Yeah, but the Flag Smashers themselves are super soldiers.
They
So,
are.
by force and taking medicines and other resources to people that are, I guess, are at these camps or what have you. I mean, in a way, to answer your original question, Justin, I don't think we truly know who the villain is at this point. I think it's very unclear. Because I think we all just naturally assumed it was going to be Zemo, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I don't know. I think, they're trying to throw us off our game, y'all. Just like with WandaVision, we thought we kind of knew what was happening. Well, maybe not, but we got thrown a loop, and now with this, it's like we're trying to piece it together and we can't. I agree with Frank in the sense that depending on your stance, the Flag Smashers are a helpful group, but at the same time, the means that they have to acquire these resources, they have to steal it. They have to use force to, make sure they keep it. Like that's not a good look, right? So I'm not sure. George, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Frank here. Like the way they're going about it, I'm not sure if it's the smartest way to do it. But I feel like if they're going to those sort of ends, like that's literally probably their only way of getting what they're trying to accomplish for them. Which who the fuck knows what that is? Because it's not really clear for us yet.
Right.
And in the comic books, the Flag Smasher is really just one person. His name was Carl Magathal. The show version, they make it a woman named Carly Magathal. So kind of like,
sorry, just who, by the way, played a very similar role in another Disney property, that of Solo. It's a Star Wars story. Frank, I know you're not into Star Wars, you haven't seen it, but she was like this very young leader of similar organization that's trying to, you know, take these resources for the betterment of other people. And it's very interesting to see the same young lady, you know, be the same person or same character in two different, you know, franchises.
Talk about typecasting. Like, I mean, it's a very similar character.
Yeah.
Instead of the Flag Smashers, her group is Infinite. What's it called? Infant Nest or something? Or
I don't remember.
It's a weird name. Yeah.
It's a weird name.
That movie didn't do too well, so maybe that's part of it. But so going back to John Walker at the beginning, you know, he's on Good Morning America, and he's talking about how he never met Steve Rogers, right? But that he felt like he was a brother, like he felt like he was his brother, and so they show Bucky, and Bucky's face, like, it's such a classic look. He's just like, this guy, man, like this guy, like he's saying all this shit, like he never met this guy. He doesn't know anything about, you know, what Captain America really was. I don't know. I thought that was really good acting by Sebastian Stan in that scene, because like I think us as the audience, you're kind of feeling the same like disdain and pain that he feels as he's watching this guy on TV like act like he's Captain America. It's really well done by the show, but the guy bothers me. I'll be honest. Like, I wanted to punch the guy in the face like multiple times. Like,
he's got the jaw to do so. I mean, like, let's just
But then also he's not totally hateable. So it's like this like weird thing where it's like, well, he was like this army hero, and like
he's full of himself though.
Yeah, he is, and
which is very opposite of Steve Rogers' character, who
was
picked on, and he literally was like, I don't like bullies. You know, this is why I want to go into the army so bad. I don't. It's not that I want to kill Nazis. I just don't like bullies wherever they're from. And John Walker, he's just like, you know, all this handshaking and talking to people and this and that. He's like, I just want to do the job. And his buddy over here is all like, hey, you can't punch your way out of everything. Like, this is the job. Like, this is what you have to do. And I'm just like, this is not a good mix. It's really not.
Yeah, and it seems like throughout the show, it's like for every like good thing he maybe says or does, he follows it up with a dumb thing he says. You know, like when he meets Bucky and Falcon, he's too casual with them. Like, he's talking to them like he knows them, and he doesn't know them. And then he's like immediately like, you know, like he refers to Sam Wilson as Wilson, like it's like a military thing, like he's like giving him orders, and then he wants to call or that's actually Falcon says Buck to Bucky.
Right.
He does call him Bucky as if he
he does, right. But then he also does the thing where, you know, he's saying, you know, it would really help if Captain America's wingmen would help me out, and calling Falcon and the Winter Soldier his wingman is, you know, it's disrespectful, because like you're not
an Avenger,
right? You're not Captain.
Stay in your fucking lane.
Like you're generic Captain America. You know, like you're Walmart Captain America. You're not name brand Captain America. You know, like
value Captain America.
There you go. Right, there you go. Yeah.
You didn't say the word 4 or 5 times over like these guys have.
Right.
You know, like, you didn't fight Thanos. You didn't fight the Shatari army. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
And I, you know, going back to Justin, what you had mentioned about the camera being on Bucky as he's watching this interview happen, I started thinking about why in the first episode Bucky was not returning any of Sam's texts. And I also now wonder if Sam was like reaching out to Bucky to like say like, hey, I can't take this mantle. I'm giving up the shield, and like to maybe prepare Bucky for what was coming. Because to me, it seemed like but by Bucky watching the interview, that was like his first time finding out that, oh my God, Sam doesn't have the shield. You know, like maybe that's his first time finding out that, you know, everything that Steve said was just for naught.
I think that he probably saw or heard about the press conference that we see at the end of the first episode.
Maybe.
I just think that like this event, this Good Morning America appearance is probably the same week as the announcement. You know, it's like they're promoting this new person. So, but I mean, yeah, it's definitely, you know, you definitely see him seeing that because it's shocking to him. And then I think this next part we should talk about is the shield. So right away, Bucky, when he sees Sam, he confronts him. He's like, "You shouldn't have given up the shield. Why'd you give up the shield?" And that is a constant theme throughout the episode. And then of course at the end they talk it out. And you know, it really like kind of what Sam said when he gave up the shield in the first episode, how he said like the shield was a symbol, but it's just like the symbol doesn't mean anything if it's not the person who's you know
wielding it.
Yeah, or emboldened by the symbol. He was basically saying like what he was doing was the honorable thing, really. But like, you know, for Bucky's perspective, he thinks it's like, well, you know, you're giving up the shield, and Steve believed in you, and you know, if Steve was wrong about you, maybe he was wrong about me. So that was a pretty interesting, you know, storyline to the episode. What did y'all think about that?
Yeah, so I know obviously Bucky's has like internal demons that he's trying to work through. And I think that confidence that he had in Steve in giving the shield to Sam, and now obviously Steve is, you know, not in that same timeline with them anymore. I mean, it's hard for Bucky to work through all these changes, and his best friend is, you know, not with him. I mean, Bucky is Bucky now, you know, he's no longer the Winter Soldier, so he can kind of get back to that normal life. And I can see in a way how Bucky felt by Sam giving up that shield. Like, you know, if he was wrong about you having that shield, then he was wrong about me as a person and everything that, you know, I'm capable of. And I don't think there's anything worse than having like no confidence or low self-esteem in yourself. And, you know, as I said, Bucky's gone through a lot to get to where he is today. I don't know. I feel for Buck. I really do. I say Buck as if I know him. I obviously don't, but you know, I'd like to get to know him. But George, what are your thoughts?
No, you're right, bro. I think there's like Buck says that because he definitely has things that he's dealing with, and he believes that if Sam like turned in the shield, maybe he was wrong about himself, or like Cap was wrong about him, and like all the fucked up shit he's done to countless people, and now he's trying to make amends and do everything. Like, oh, like maybe he was wrong. Like, I think he's going through a lot right now, and it's definitely gonna take some work for him to like get to where he wants to be, to where he's peaceful with him, at peace with himself. Mm-hmm. And I think that Falcon is gonna help him through with that journey, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Frank, what's your feedback on all this?
So I'm going to take a totally different take on this. Look, I get it. Bucky's been through a lot of trauma the last 90 years, been a super agent. I totally understand that part, but it's not about you. It's not about you, bro. Like, you have to understand, like, when I watch this, and this is doing a great job of like really painting perspectives. Bucky was pardoned. He murdered a lot of people in 90 fucking years. He wasn't murdered. He wasn't given an electric chair. He wasn't given lethal injection. He was pardoned by the government. If that was a black man, Isaiah Bradley, and we don't get to Isaiah Bradley for this, and he was branded a hero, and he spent 30 years in jail. This motherfucker killed hundreds of people and was pardoned. And like, when I look at guys like Bucky and Steve Rogers, these are white symbols in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a walking reminder, and I think this is doing a great job in this, is that no matter what you do as a hero, especially a Black hero, there are certain prisms there's certain ceilings you can't bust through. Falcon helped save the world 3 or 4 times over, and he gets stopped by a goddamn cop and gets racially profiled. And like and when I look at Bucky and his frustration with the Shield, is that you're not a Black man. Well, Falcon viewed this as, no matter what I do, no matter how Steve views me, the world's not gonna view me that way. And he knew that going to this shit. That's why he gave the shit in the first fucking place. But again, with white privilege playing a part, Steve and Bucky would never understand that part of what Falcon is going through internally as a Black man in America. Whether it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe or in real life, there are things that as a Black man you are viewed in negative light no matter what you do. And I feel like Bucky's making more about himself, and it's not about you. It's just not about you in this respect.
Yeah, and I think that, obviously Bucky giving up, Falcon giving up the shield is, it's part of his hero's journey, right? So, like, I think at the end of this show, he's going to get the shield. But the thing is like, if he would have accepted the shield before, or just kept the shield, he would not have been recognized probably as Captain America. Or even if he were, he would kind of be seen like this guy's Captain America, this current guy who's not really Captain America. I think there's the part about Captain America that is, unique to him is, like, regardless of his name, he's not some like toy of America. You know what I mean? Like Steve Rogers is, doesn't just do what the government tells him to do. Whereas it seems like John Walker is very much that person. Think about all the times from Civil War. From Winter Soldier to Civil War to, all this stuff. Like, Steve Rogers, America is in his name, but it's not like his sole objective. You know what I mean? So I think that they're building up Sam to be the next Captain America, like Steve was, not just a Captain America. And obviously the race part is a huge part of this episode, and it comes into play whenever as you mentioned a second ago, Frank, we meet Isaiah Bradley, whom, I knew a little bit about the character because, Frank, you told us about him a while back. And that's an interesting thing because so what happens is, we're introduced to this character because obviously Bucky knows him because he fought against him in the 50s. So he takes Sam to his house in Baltimore, and we meet this older guy who we find out was the first Black Captain America, and who I assume was kind of a Captain America while Steve Rogers was, frozen. Yeah, or no, was frozen. Yeah, right. Because if Steve Rogers went in the ice in 44, this guy was. So it seems like Steve never knew this guy even existed. You know what I mean? So go ahead, Frank, take it from there and explain about the character and the scene, and just go from there.
Yeah. So in the show version, Captain goes in the ice in 44, and Isaiah Bradley, they're trying. The government is trying, and this is the American government. Remember, Erskine I think he's from Russia, I believe. So
Germany.
The first time they're trying to create the super soldier serum and perfect it, because Erskine was the only person at this point to ever perfect it to where there was no side effects or anything like that. So the American government is trying to create this super soldier serum. So they enlist 300 soldiers, right? Black soldiers. And it was kind of like a Tuskegee experiment. And there's mutations, people exploded. Isaiah Bradley was the first test subject to survive. So the comic books, him and 5 other Black men who were able to survive through the test experiments, they're given to do Black op missions, right? Overseas. And there was a certain mission that they was sent to go kill somebody or apprehend somebody, and Isaiah Bradley steals the first Captain America outfit, the uniform. So they complete the mission. He survives the mission. He comes back to America and he's court-martialed for stealing the Captain America outfit. So in the comic books, he's sentenced, I think, to 17 years in prison. And his wife writes a letter to President Eisenhower every single month for 17 years, praying for him to be released. Now in the show version, they don't really explain why he gets arrested. I think the show is 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't know what he got arrested for in the show. But in the comic book version, when he was masquerading as Black Captain America, Steve Rogers was still alive and not put in ice yet. And actually, Steve Rogers actually gave him he gave him a Purple Heart or a Medal of Honor for his battle. This is years later, right? Years later. So so that's kind of where we at with Isaiah Bradley. Now for the show version, I'm not sure what they're gonna do for his character, but for those who didn't catch the guy that opened the door, right? When Bucky and Wilson opened the door, that was his grandson, Eli Bradley. Now Eli Bradley goes on to be Patriot in the Young Avengers. So I don't know. That's them kind of setting up the Young Avengers, but that's another character we've seen now. We've seen Speed and Wiccan in WandaVision. Now we've seen Eli in this show. So I think they're trying to set up the Young Avengers. I'm sorry, I'm rambling now. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention the same thing too, Frank, about the grandson that opened the door. No, and you're right. With the show, they didn't specify why Isaiah Bradley was in jail for 30 years, but he did say that even though he was a hero, he says, he's telling this to Bucky, you know what they did to me, and I was a hero. They put me in jail for 30 years, ran tests, took my blood, came into my cell, and I can only imagine how horrible, that would have been for, someone who is deemed as a hero, but, person of color, they're treated differently. Let's just, call a spade a spade. So, he says, even your people. Now, whether he meant that as Hydra people or as, white people, he's like, your people weren't done with me then. And I think it's really.
I think he meant Hydra in that respect.
I mean, it was a little ambiguous, I think, but at the same time.
So was it Hydra or was it Shield at that time with Hydra operating under? Okay, it was Hydra. Okay.
I think it was Hydra because remember, Hydra grew with under Shield, right, or within Shield, but at the very end when Bucky's saying, when Isaiah said, my people, and Sam's all like, oh no, that's not what he meant. Don't worry about it. No. Hydra was once my people. That's what he means. So for Isaiah to really kind of put this story, and these are like hard topics to talk about, for many people, but the fact that in this day and age, there's a lot of social justice, movements going on and what have you. And just like in The Boys, we saw a lot of very similar, what happens in real life happen in these shows. And it's like, wow, this feels so damn real, even though there's no superheroes that we're aware of in this lifetime. But the fact that, we're, Disney is hitting, up these hard topics, addressing these hard topics of, racism and social injustice, the cops that Frank was talking about, how, because Bucky and Sam were getting into it in the street, the cops automatically said, hey, is this guy messing with you? Why do you got to assume it's the person of color, And Bucky himself is saying, hey, no, we're good. We're talking. Oh, they're Avengers. Oh, I am so sorry. I didn't recognize you without the goggles.
Yeah, because Bucky says, don't you realize who this is? And
exactly.
The other guy's like, yeah, they're Avengers.
And think back to, because I mentioned The Boys already, think back to A-Train when, he had his leg busted and he's, walking around the mall in crutches and security guards following him because he thinks he's, up to no good or whatever. Doesn't realize he's A-Train,
right.
So there's a lot to say for not recognizing someone in their street clothes as opposed to their, superhero getup. Like, that's just fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also it wasn't like they weren't fighting in the street. Like they were just walking through the street and talking to each other, like
in this day and age, Justin, like
that would have been a very tough, especially if they had body cams to how do you like you arrested somebody for talking in the street? Like that's kind of lame
Like,
to put it.
like with three
But it happens.
cop car shows up, and like when they approach Bucky and Falcon's like if you notice Anthony Mackie's expression, he rolls his eyes like, "Fuck, here we go again." Like this guy is like a cult hero in this world, and he's still
He's Black Falcon.
Yeah, black. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It was tough to watch, but I think it was very, very. You can use it as an educational service, you know.
Absolutely,
So.
it definitely is like a PSA in a way. I mean, it's done so well, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys in our first episode about Marvel and Disney taking this approach in the storyline of addressing racism like head on, basically. Like what's y'all's take on that? I'm gonna pick on George.
Okay, go ahead, George.
No, I'm glad they're addressing these issues and hopefully just spreading the word to that, because there's a huge audience that watches these shows, and honestly, it's mostly kids too. They need to learn that this is the reality of life right now, and like things are messed up, and they need to see how it is for some of their friends that they might not know. Like everyone has like a Black friend or different minorities. Like we're so diverse now that these kids need to learn like that how things are for you might not be for someone else. And I think this show is a great, like, just taking a step forward and like teaching these kids that.
I agree. Justin.
I think the show is just basically following the blueprint that Marvel Comics has kind of always like said and has always had, because I mean, I'm by no means a comics historian, but I've done some research into it recently, and it like the reason why Marvel has been so successful throughout the years is because not only are their stories based in our world, but they deal with what's going on in our world, and so they have more diverse characters. They appeal to different, people of color, race, religion, all that kind of stuff. So it's really just kind of what Marvel's always done. And so it's not a surprise. I think it's just probably like the time that it's coming out is just there's so much of that in our everyday lives, probably more so than I can ever remember in my life. Like I don't remember this kind of stuff in the 90s as much. There was things from time to time, but like this is like literally it's like an everyday kind of thing. So they almost like couldn't, like they have to address it. And of course, Marvel does things the right way. And so that's not a surprise to me.
Right. And you're right in saying that it's Marvel, Marvel Studios is following that of, the comics storyline. I guess it was just more so like because a lot of people, with entertainment, I feel like don't want to, they have to walk on eggshells. So the fact that they being Marvel and Disney are just kind of hitting it head on, and it coincides with the things that are happening, in the last couple of years. It's very fitting. It's incredibly fitting.
Yeah, I mean the people who like they don't want certain things in their entertainment, like they haven't really been paying attention to life, because there's always been, like politics and like the everyday world, that's in everything. It always has been, and like it's
for sure,
like the whole stuff about, keep your politics out of sports or whatever. It's like, well, we've been playing the national anthem before sporting events for 70 years, 80. I mean, like, what's the purpose of that? There's no purpose to that. Like it's just a rah America kind of thing. It's not like you don't need that to play the Final Four or to, have a baseball game, so. And all the salute the troops stuff, and I have nothing against people in the military. I have family that were in the military, but like that stuff there, that's just political propaganda. That's all that is. That's all it's ever been. It's just whenever it's the other side, then it's like, oh, now it's a problem. So what Marvel's done really well is that they're just kind of being real with it in this super hero world. They're bringing real life stuff into it, and obviously. I don't think that's the last time we're going to see Isaiah Bradley in this show. And like Frank mentioned, obviously the grandson is going to play a factor. And Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Isaiah Bradley's son, wasn't he also a super powered person of some sort?
Josiah. So in the comic books, Isaiah Bradley was sterile. So the 300 soldiers that got enlisted for this project, they sterilized them. So they weren't able to have babies the conventional way. But Josiah is a product of they took his seed and they took Faith's, I think his wife, and they manipulated to how he was able to have a baby. So, and with Eli wasn't a super soldier originally. He was taking mutagen enhancements. So when he tried out for the Young Avengers, he lied to the Young Avengers and said, "Yeah, I'm like my grandpa. I have superhuman abilities." He got addicted to it, and then he got gravely ill, and his granddaddy Isaiah had to give him a blood transfusion. That's how he got his superhuman strength from the blood transfusion. I don't know if that's going to transpire on the show, but yeah, Josiah, I don't think he has superhuman powers. He was a superhero though, but I don't think he had powers.
Yeah, and I think the blood transfusion you talked about is very important because Isaiah mentions how, you know, people were testing him for 30 years when he was in prison, taking his blood, and obviously they're taking his blood because he has the serum in his blood, and so that's how I believe that's how we have these other super soldiers. I think that's how they're going to explain that. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that's got to be part of it.
I think you're right. I mean, even going back to Civil War, all those super soldiers that were created then, I think these are all spawns from Isaiah Bradley, from his blood samples, because he's been around for forever since World War II. So
remember too that they did take the blood from Steve in Captain America, right? And then when Bucky was sent to murder the Starks, he took the whatever little packages that were in the suitcase or whatever from Howard, and that was the serum of sorts. Remember, so that's how the super soldiers in at least Civil War were explained. Gotcha. So if it's from Steve's original, blood, or if it was from Isaiah's, the question that at this point needs to be answered is, how are these current flag smashers that are obviously super soldiers, how did they get the serum? Who is, is it that power? Say it one more time for me, Frank.
The power brokers?
Power brokers, thank you. Is it that same person, organization, whatever, that administer it, and then the flag smashers just went on and did their own thing, or what?
Well, we know from the show that they stole it, because when Carly gets that text saying, "You stole something from me, I'm going to kill you," that's how we know they stole it from the power.
I took it as the vaccines, like the GRC vaccines. That's what I thought that was. But that's a good point to make, because I hadn't considered that. Because that's what we're seeing, the flag smashers, they're taking medicines or whatever from the GRC canisters. You can see that on the label in the trucks, and they're giving it to those who I guess have not been taken care of. So
yeah,
good point.
And this is a very serious episode, but within this episode there's a lot of great humor. I found myself laughing at a lot of stuff, and it definitely, you got to see the buddy cop kind of combination of Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan play off. And I just want to let's just talk about some of the funny stuff in the episode. You had the big three, which you found out are androids, aliens, and wizards. That was pretty funny. I wasn't expecting that. And the fact that even John Walker knew about that was kind of funny later on in the episode.
I think one of the funnier lines in the very beginning, talking about wizards amongst Bucky and Sam, and Bucky makes a comment. So who are you looking for, Gandalf? And Sam's a little taken aback. He's like, "Well, how do you know about Gandalf?" He's like, "I read The Hobbit in 1937 when it came out," and I'm like, mic drop, boom, baby. That was
so funny.
That was fan-fucking-tastic.
I love the whole thing. He's like, yeah, you're in Wakanda, you became the White Panther or whatever. He's like, no, it's the White Wolf.
He's like, huh?
Yeah. And then Brittany, you mentioned this earlier, the part where they're in Baltimore and they're going to visit Isaiah, and there's this kid outside, and he's like, "Oh, it's Black Falcon." And he's like, "No, kid, it's just Falcon." He's like, "No, you're Black Falcon." He's like, "Well, does that make you Black Kid?" I don't know. It was funny. Like
Bucky falling out of or jumping out of the plane.
Yeah.
You know, he dramatically tears off his sleeve to reveal the vibranium, arm, thinking it's going to help break his fall. Not one damn bit.
Yeah. George, what did you think about the humor in this episode?
I thought it was pretty funny. Also, when he jumped out the plane, I was like, well, how the hell? I thought he was going to do a super heel landing or something. I was like, what is going to happen? So, the fact did he land on his arm? And that's how he was able to break the fall? Because that made no sense.
I guess so. Yeah, because otherwise, wouldn't he? I mean, he's not indestructible.
I mean, he landed on his back, but he was like trying to catch the tree, like with his vibranium arm, and like I don't know.
He jumped 200 feet and still survived, so that's pretty wild.
Well, I mean, Captain Steve, he jumped what 2,000 feet into the water and Winter Soldier, and no ill effects.
Yeah, that's fair.
When did he fall in the water?
In the beginning of the movie, where Black Widow and Steve and Crossbones are trying to infiltrate the ship.
The ship that had been hijacked.
Had been hijacked by Hydra, and open the scene is like, and Black Widow's trying to talk to him about, hey, you should start dating again. He's like, oh, and I'm too busy. And then he jumped out of the plane and
with no shoot.
The guy asked him like, hey, did he have a shoot on? And he's like, no, he didn't have a shoot on.
Yeah, no, you're right. What are y'all's feelings about Red Wing? Bucky and Red Wing are just like not a good mix. Apparently, he's annoyed by the damn thing, and
I don't understand why. Like, it's just like it seems like it's a tool, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe Falcon like uses it purposely to annoy Bucky, and ultimately when Red Wing is destroyed by one of the Flag Smashers, the leader, if you will, and he makes a comment, oh, I always wanted to do that. And
right. Yeah, that was funny too. I think that Red Wing is just like Marvel's version of R2-D2.
That's what it seems like, because all the sound effects that it's making now, it sounds more and more like R2-D2 or a version of that or something.
Well, they do use Lucasfilms, I think it's at Skywalker Studios, their sound.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
I think it's just meant to be like I mean, obviously, like George said, it's a tool. It's also kind of a comedic character, and also it's a character they can merchandise. Like there's gonna be Red Wing toys, I'm sure. Like so.
But we also learned that they hacked it. The government hacked his tech.
Exactly.
Which I guess there's kind of a conversation before like that he didn't want them meddling with it, like, and that's what ended up happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How they found them.
So the Sokovia Accords got signed from right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So
by some of them.
So did the government operate as any type of tech that's used is going to be government sanctioned? I'm so confused by this. Like we never got.
I agree.
I wonder that too, because I know Tony was all for the Accords, and like all the tech obviously is his, Falcon's whole suit and Red Wing included. So I wonder anything that he designed would then have been chipped by the government. I don't know. I mean,
but what about Pepper Potts? Like, she's still alive. Like, wouldn't she? All of Stark Tech, wouldn't that be hers? Right? Because like, and he has an heir. He has a kid. So like, wouldn't that be? I don't think that Tony Stark would sign away his fortune or his tech to the U.S. government. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he would do that. So
truthfully don't know. I think in the comics doesn't he become like head of the Department of Justice or something, or he also becomes like head of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a period of time. So I mean, who knows?
I mean, the thing about the comics is like they're never ending. You know what I mean? Like, even when they kill these characters, they bring them back because they've got to keep telling the story. It's almost like soap operas. Like soap operas, they last forever. You know what I mean? Like until they're canceled, but these shows last 40, 50 years. So comics, like, there's different versions of every character in the comics. And what Marvel has done masterfully is they kind of pick and choose the best stuff from different storylines.
That's what they were trying to do with Chancellor Palpatine, Justin.
Yeah, I disagree. That's
Just kidding.
Yeah.
So let's talk about one topic with John Walker. It seems like to me, so there's a scene where, so going back to Baltimore, where Bucky and Falcon get approached by the cops. They run like a scan, and they find out that Bucky has a warrant for his arrest, right?
Yep.
So he gets arrested. He gets taken in, and lo and behold, who springs him out of jail? It's John Walker. So I guess my question is that he has some authority. Like, he has some level of authority that Captain America never had with the government. So it makes me wonder, and this goes back to my General Ross theory. Who is giving all this power to exercise within the government?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
I would think the difference is that when Steve Rogers was still Captain America, that he operated under SHIELD. And SHIELD, I guess, was like separate from the government, because I don't think they didn't coincide with the government. They reported to a different council.
True. The World Security Council.
Right, World Security Council. So I think that would be the difference now that, SHIELD obviously no longer exists. Captain America is gone. It's like, well, the government, I guess, just took it upon themselves to be, Big Daddy over here. I don't know. I mean, like, I liked the General Ross theory, though, because that would just kind of tie things, or to bring him back into the picture would be very interesting, because it wasn't he also like a Secretary of State or something, or
I think he was Secretary of Defense, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah.
I think he was Secretary of Defense during Civil
remember
War.
at the moment, but no, that would be a very interesting turn of events, if he's the one behind all of this. And honestly, it would be.
And then there's another topic I want to revisit too. So after Bucky and Falcon get their ass beat by the Flag Smashers, they're on the plane heading back, I think right before they go to Baltimore. And he's still complaining about, why'd you give up the shield? Oh, we need to take the shield back. And then Falcon says, you remember the last thing that happened, Sharon Carter got branded as an enemy of the state. Captain and myself had to go in hiding. If you listen closely, he never mentioned Black Widow.
Oh.
Because him and Black Widow, Falcon and Cap all show up in Infinity War, and right when they save Scarlet Witch and Vision. Right. I wonder why. Was that on purpose? Was that? I wonder. Like, he never mentioned her.
That's a good catch. I didn't.
Probably because she's gone. Because she died. I assume that's got to be, because she died in Endgame. Yeah.
But isn't Cap essentially dead too? Well, we don't know if Cap is alive or not, but.
Right.
But they keep referring to Steve as like he's still with them, like presently, like maybe not physically with them, but like I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when Bucky and Sam were having the immediate mandatory session after Bucky is released from jail, that with Dr. Rayner, which is I think funny because that's another character from The Voice. But anyway, they're gazing into each other and what have you. The way that Sam addressed Bucky's question about why did you give up the shield, he says, this is something that you nor Steve will understand. He said will, not, would, or, like in a past tense kind of thing. It's like current, like this is still something very, very now. That was just my interpretation of it. I don't know.
That's a good catch as well. Yeah, because if he was dead, they wouldn't have said will as in present tense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, but if you're talking about someone else who's alive, then I guess you would. I mean, I don't know.
Listen, Mr. Editor over here.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that was meant to be that. I think that was just. I think that, to their knowledge, Steve Rogers is never going to be the Steve Rogers that they knew, whether he's dead or what. Like, I think that I don't think they have hope of that happening. You know what I mean? So I think he was just
Alive
saying,
in their hearts.
right, but like, yeah, I think he's just saying like you'll never understand, why I decided to do that, or why I couldn't take the shield, and so.
But then at the same time, I kind of, in a way, I support Bucky being kind of really bothered by this whole thing about giving up the shield, because he knows Steve. I mean, they grew up together. They were best friends, and Bucky follows Steve, back into the war after Bucky was experimented on by Hydra. I mean, like their camaraderie and what have you, blossomed, and the fact that Bucky, I'm sure, knew that Steve was planning to, when he went back to go and put back the stones, that he wasn't going to come back. Like, that's how close they are. So for Bucky to trust Steve to entrust the mantle and shield to Sam, and then Sam gives it away to Bucky, it's like, that's like a slap in the face. Like, I know this man better than you would ever know him. And I don't know, that just kind of popped in my head as, we were talking about all this stuff. I get obviously where Sam's coming from, and how, the mantle, yes, it's big shoes to fill, and that America might not like support, him coming into that mantle. But like, I understand where Bucky's frustration comes from, because of the fact that, you're questioning my best friend, the man that was so honorable, who would have given his life, to save other people, time after time. Right. So I don't know.
What that giddy up optimism you have.
And that reminds me of something else funny in this episode where,
that's good, Frank.
When Bucky and Sam are with John Walker, and Bucky goes, "Did you ever jump on a grenade?" And John Walker's like, "Yeah, I did it 4 times." It's like, I had this like super reinforced helmet or whatever, and it's like not the same
Not
thing.
the
Like
same.
Steve Rogers was a 95-pound weakling who dove on a grenade and like was going to be blown up. You know what I mean? Like,
so I want to kind of talk about that real quick, like maybe little Easter egg things here and there. So during John Walker's interview with Good Morning America, he makes the comment about how, he's not like Tony or Dr. Banner. He says, "I don't have the flashiest gadgets. I don't have super strength, but what I do have is guts." And if you call back to Captain America, what Colonel Phillips had said to Dr. Erskine was, "You don't win wars with niceness, doctor. You win wars with guts." And he tried to prove that point with the whole grenade thing, and the brawny dude, ran away, but Steve, skinny little nobody, goes and jumps on the grenade. So that to me is like a very, it foreshadows obviously the truth of John Walker, what will be revealed, hopefully. Man ain't shit.
yeah, perhaps. I think it's kind of weird how he referenced Tony Stark, who's obviously deceased in this this time. But
yeah.
I
Did
guess,
you all happen to notice, and it happened very quickly during the scene on top of the semis with the flag smashers, that when John Walker threw the shield and it was about to come back to him, that Bucky caught it with his vibranium arm? Did you notice that he wasn't going to give it back to John Walker? Okay,
And
great.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he was very apprehensive in that
Yes.
manner, for sure.
yes. But John ended up taking it back, like the little fucker that he is. Anyway.
Yeah. It seems like to me, even in that battle, Bucky's holding back. Like, you don't see the fighting that you saw in Winter Soldier. Maybe because he was fighting with such ferociousness and was fighting to kill. In this incarnation, he's not fighting to win. He's fighting to he's fighting defensively, like, as if Dr. Rainey's in his head, and like the image of what he was is still in his head.
Yeah,
Well,
he's playing defense. He's not going on offense. Yeah, I felt the same way. It's like, I felt like, if he wanted to, couldn't he take a lot of these guys by himself? Like, it seemed like he could, but.
Well, remember, rule number 2 is don't hurt anybody.
Correct.
In order to make his amends. So yeah, that
Right.
totally makes sense as to why he was holding back.
And that's a good point, because right when he walked out of that last session with Dr. Rayner, he's like, hey, what's for number 2 again? And Raina says, don't hurt anybody. And he's just like, he just walks away like, yeah, whatever. But fucking people up.
Yeah, rule number 2 is about to be broken, I think.
Yeah.
So
It's like, if it's so important, why isn't it rule number 1?
yeah.
I mean,
That is
that's a good ass question.
So the episode ends with Bucky convincing or telling Sam we have to go see Zemo.
Mhm.
So what are y'all expecting next week's episode with Zemo? George, what do you think's gonna happen?
I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna tell them. Like, I'm kind of like terrified that he's just gonna like say the words and he's gonna turn into the Winter Soldier or something. Or I don't know. Maybe Bucky has it under control now, but I have no idea. I'm still kind of nervous about that.
See, that's what I'd said in the very beginning. I was like, Zemo knows the words. What if he reactivates the Winter Soldier? I mean, hello.
Oh, Frank's saying no.
Yeah.
Shuri fixed him. Shuri's outside of Tony Stark. Shuri's like one of the smartest people on this planet. She fixed him. He that's not gonna happen again.
Okay.
I think what's gonna happen is that they're gonna go there. He's gonna say some shit that they don't want to hear, and then they're gonna leave, and somehow he's gonna break out of prison, and then you'll see a whole new storyline come up with Zemo.
Do you think Zemo's gonna say the words and try to, anyways?
Nah, I don't think he will. I think because that would be too repetitive on Marvel to try that again. I don't think.
Yeah.
Might be for the shot though. I mean, if he even attempts to say it, and Bucky's all like, no. Let me show you my vibranium arm. It's very different from my Winter Soldier arm. No, I think what might happen is, Bucky and Sam will go see Zemo. Zemo is going to be Zemo and make his attempt. My concern is if they were to bring him out of prison to, for their cause, right? They're free agents. They operate differently. They don't need authorizations, whatever. If Zemo is going to help them, but really he's going to go to the Flag Smashers or the Power Brokers or, some other, he's got another agenda going. He just needs the out, right? Or maybe he's the one behind this whole thing altogether. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see if, let's say, they bring in someone who was once a villain to be, they had to team up and fight this other villainous type group. I'm not sure. I'm just excited. I'm excited to see Daniel Bruhl, back in the show. This episode was much better than what I expected it to be. Justin, what are your thoughts for next episode?
Well, first off, in this episode, I didn't say this earlier, but I think this was the best episode of Marvel TV that's been on Disney Plus yet. And I love WandaVision, but this episode was the best stuff I've seen. As for next week, I think Frank probably nailed it the best. Obviously they're going to go see Zemo. There's going to be some kind of back and forth that they don't obviously see eye to eye, and somehow Zemo is going to get out, because we do know from the season trailer there's a shot of Zemo. He's outside somewhere. He has a gun, and I think he's firing the gun at the Winter Soldier, or maybe it's the reverse. Something. No, I think he's shooting at the Winter Soldier, and the Winter Soldier's catching. No, that's what it was. Is Bucky has the gun pointed at Zemo, and then he takes the clip out, all the bullets come out or something. So I don't know if y'all remember that, but that's from the trailer.
You sure that wasn't pieced together from when Black Panther had encountered Zemo and took the gun from him, and then all the bullets just fell out?
Maybe so. I don't know. It was a very quick scene.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I'm trying to say is Zemo's going to get out. Maybe we'll see Sharon Carter. I mean, there's only 4 episodes left. We haven't seen her yet. So she was referenced in this episode. So I'm guessing that we see her. Yeah.
I hadn't considered her being considered an enemy of the state. I mean, damn.
Well, I mean, she was just like Steve and Sam. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to find out what she's been up to.
And it'll also be interesting to see what is John Walker's next step, because his last interaction with Sam and Bucky, they said, "Hey, we're free agents. We don't need to work with you." And he said, "Okay, fine, but stay the hell out of my way." So
Steve doesn't like that kind of language.
that's right. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm looking forward to it. This show is show's as good as advertised. Like honestly, I think like I said, this past episode was the best thing I've seen on Disney Plus. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
I know we talked about it amongst ourselves in the chat, but I just want to say it here for our followers. If Falcon had become Captain America and he was getting the big, welcome on Good Morning America with the drum line and what have you, we all said it. Someone tagged us in it. I think it was George. Petey freaking Pablo would have been there to welcome.
Yeah, it was like 2001.
Who am I? Sorry. Man, George, you were the one who tagged us in that post, right?
Yeah. I just thought it was hilarious.
It was so funny. I was like, yo, I was thinking the same motherfucking thing. Fantastic. Show me that drum line and, bring out the celebrity and bring out Falcon as Captain America. Yeah.
I mean, the band sounded great. That was a really cool like version of the Captain America song or one of the songs. So
well, there was the Star-Spangled Man, which is the title of this episode, which was the same song that Steve, when he was going around doing his performance.
His tour,
His tour, yeah.
Did John Walker go to a black high school? Like the band was black, his wife is black. I'm like, God damn, man, you just all up in the butter, ain't you, bro?
I mean, they film in Georgia, and so I think according to even comics, John Walker was from Georgia. So, I mean, it's all very fitting. All very fitting. Cool. Shout out to Georgia. Never been there, but.
So any other final thoughts on the episode?
I'm very happy with the progression of this episode. And I love, of course, to see the banter between, Bucky and Sam, and even Sam towards the Dr. Rayner about like, I'll squash this, like whatever. Thanks, Doc. Thanks for making this weird. I feel much better, like he doesn't hold back. You got to love a guy who keeps it real. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the rest of this season, or if it's a series, whatever, just one season, but it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. I can feel it. It's going to be good. George.
I agree.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens with the story. Unfortunately, there's only 4 episodes left, which is insane to me. That it's not going to be as long as WandaVision or. So I'm just hoping that everything starts moving along. Like by next episode, we can start formulating more theories.
So we can be wrong. Yes. Okay, yeah. Frank.
I mean, I'm in agreement with Justin. I think this is the best episode of Marvel TV yet. I think the acting's been superb. I don't care how this ends. I want another season of this. I gotta get more Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie together on the same screen. Those guys are incredible. Just a testament of just great casting by Marvel, man. Like they continue to hit the casting around the head, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
For sure.
And with this show, I think it is only going to be like a 1-season deal. It's going to lead to something else. Like these characters are going to continue in some, whatever the next Avengers movie is, or whatever kind of side project they can be a part of. I don't think this is the end of these characters by any stretch. So anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about episode 3. But before we go, let's talk about some other stuff that's been out there. I started watching the new Amazon Prime series Invincible. Have y'all heard of this?
I saw it on the banner on the homepage on the Amazon Prime homepage, and I was curious about what it was. I didn't know. It just looked like an animated show, so I wasn't sure if it was like a kids cartoon or something. Because I've had my nephew over, so I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, no, it's not a kids' cartoon. It's an animated series though. It's actually executively produced by Seth Rogen and I think Adam Goldberg, the same guys that executive produced The Boys.
Boys.
They also do this show. It is a comic book from about 20 years ago. It's written by Robert Kirkman, who is the same guy who's the creator of The Walking Dead.
Okay.
So it's I'd never heard of it, but it's apparently it's a pretty well known comic series, and it follows this family that basically like there's this guy he's like Superman, but they call him Omni Man, and he has a son, and the son has powers, and it just kind of goes from there. There's like kind of a generic Justice League in the show. The first 3 episodes are available on Amazon Prime right now. I would recommend everyone watching the first episode. And if you like, because the end of the first episode is pretty surprising. I did not see that coming. But yeah, it's an animated series, but there's cussing, which the language isn't too bad. There's a lot of blood. Well, there's a lot of like, I mean, obviously it's animated, but still, it's certainly not a kid's cartoon. And yeah, I think that's I think it comes out on Friday. It's just like Falcon Winter Soldier. So check that out if you get a chance. What have y'all been watching? I'll go to George. What have you been watching?
Attack on Titan, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's so fucking good. I don't know. Y'all don't watch anime, but y'all sleeping.
John has watched that anime, and I've caught a couple of episodes, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
The storyline on the show is so hard, dude. If y'all like Marvel and like story shit coming together, this show, writing in Japanese shows is amazing, dude. Y'all are seriously sleeping. Y'all fucking up, all of y'all.
All I know from Attack on Titans is like you've got a city and you've got like these rings, and it's like every like barrier in between each has like a different Titan, and it's ridiculous. Oh my god,
it's not. The more you watch it and you understand and like watch it, and then like by the season now that it's going to, it's fucking, you're getting answers to a lot of shit, and it's crazy.
What is this on? Like what?
Netflix.
Hulu.
Oh.
Well, yeah, the new season, to finish the season, is on Hulu. So this was the season finale. So there's gonna be a part 2 to the season, like in 2022. So
okay,
I'll pick up back to then. So y'all still have time to watch it. But that's a crazy show.
Hard pass. But I'll let John know. Hard pass for me.
When you say like Titans, you mean like they're like those like mechanical things?
No, they're just like it's basically like a form of a giant.
Okay.
Like a mutated beast and type shit like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a popular video game called Titanfall that's like,
no,
I never played it, but it's okay.
No, it's something else. Basically, there's like two types of races. Like there's Eldians and Marlians. Basically, like one can turn into these Titans and their forms and stuff like that. And you learn that within the show, but the storyline in the show and how things progress is pretty crazy. And there's a lot of blood, action, gore, like fucking crazy fucking scenes.
Yeah, there are. I've seen a couple.
It's like boys level, like probably worse, dude. The amount of blood on that show is insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frank, what have you been watching?
I started season 4 of The Resident. It's a Dr. Sean Fox. It debuted in January, but I'm just not catching up to that. And right now, they're pretty much talking about coronavirus, so it's kind of exhausting because you're living in it, and now they're trying to mirror it in the show. So I'm watching that, and then I'm watching old reruns of True Blood on HBO Max. And that's really about it. I haven't really watched anything new outside of that.
So I have like my one show that I will watch, and it's The Good Doctor. It's not The Resident like where you're watching, but it did, with this new season, it did start off a little bit with the coronavirus. Thankfully, they didn't dwell too much on that storyline. They've gone back to just other storylines, and character development in this last episode for me. I was just like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable. Two characters that like I would have never thought would have been together or like hooking up, and it's just like it just makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't know. Anyway, so that's like the one show I do try to watch when I can. Thank God for DVR. That's all I will say. Other than that, nothing new. I kind of want to restart the BBC Sherlock since it's all on Netflix. I think maybe everyone here has seen it except Justin. It's good. I mean, I love Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, and their chemistry together is so good. And the fact that they also are both now in MCU, just saying, it's pretty funny. But that's pretty much it for me. You know, same old stuff.
I think it's kind of funny, talking about doctor shows, and there's so many doctor shows through the years. It seems like they're running out of like names for these shows. Like, you have The Resident. Like, what's like next season on CBS? It's like PCP, primary care physician, or something. Like, I mean, like they're really like digging deep to try to find a name for these shows.
If they start doing a show about it, OBGYN, I'm done. So done.
Oh my gosh.
So done.
So am I the only one who watched the Justice's Gray version of Justice League?
Oh, the emo version?
The black and white version? Did y'all watch that?
No.
I watched part of it. I didn't watch all of it. It's kind of cool. I don't know. It's black and white.
The same storyline?
Same movie, yeah.
Same movie?
Just black and white, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure Jason Momoa still looks great in black and white. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, I just wish that on those scenes where he's in, like, instead of being black and white, there was like no audio because the music is just so bad in those scenes. Like, just the Icelandic singers are just like, just stop. But speaking of HBO Max, this will be the final thing for today. Are y'all aware that, well, as of this recording, it'll be when this recording comes out, it'll be the day of it. But are y'all ready for Kong versus Godzilla?
No, I'm ready.
It drops March 31st on HBO Max.
I'm ready for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's next month. Yeah.
But I don't know. I never liked the Godzilla movies ever. I don't know.
Same.
I'm not a fan.
Have y'all seen any of these from this series? This is the fourth film in this series. Have y'all seen the other three?
I saw the one with the kid from Stranger Things.
Yeah, that one's bad.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking terrible. I was like, did I watch it?
And she's in the new one, Millie Bobby Brown. She's in the new one also. So
I'm not watching.
So this is a continuation of the one from Stranger Things.
So the first film in this series was just called Godzilla. It came out in 2013. It had the Breaking Bad guy.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, and it had
Elizabeth
Olsen. Yeah. That one's okay. The second film in this series was Kong Skull Island, which is actually pretty good.
I had Tom Hiddleston
That one had
in it.
Same world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's the same world. Yeah.
Yeah, same world. Yeah. That one had Tom Hiddleston. It had Samuel L. Jackson. It had
right?
Captain Marvel herself. Yeah.
Right.
It's a pretty good movie. The third film is the one that came out 2 years ago. That's called Godzilla King of the Monsters. That's the one with Millie Bobby Brown and the Friday Night Lights coach, that guy. I can't think of his name. The coach from Friday Night Lights, if y'all ever watch that.
Yeah.
He's in the movie, Coach Taylor. Yeah. It's not very good. So I don't think this movie is going to be that good, but I'll check it out. It's just because it's such a big spectacle. These two giant monsters fighting.
No.
How
I feel about the Kong and Godzilla movies is the same how I feel about all these Spider-Man movies, with the exception of, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and all the Fast and the Furious movies. Like, they just need to be done. Like, enough.
What? The Fast and the Furious movies? What? Like, those are excellent films. That's cinema at its finest. I mean, I'm honestly not even kidding. Like, I've said this before. Fast 5, 6, 7, and 8 like find 4 better movies. I'll wait. Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, I'll do that.
Cinematic masterpieces.
They are good movies, though. I mean, honestly, like
They're entertaining, honestly.
I actually still like Too Fast, Too Furious.
that's one of the worst.
That's one of my favorites.
Tokyo Drift and Too Fast, Too Furious are battling at the bottom of the rankings.
I like Tokyo Drift, man.
Everyone likes Tokyo Drift.
I like that.
You like Tokyo Drift?
I like that.
Bow Wow one?
Yeah, I like that one. I like that movie.
No longer friends, man.
Oh,
Well, you know,
I'm just joking. I love you. We'll always gonna be friends.
so kind of switching gears, but you said Tokyo Drift, and it reminded me of the actor that played Han. Did you see that he's actually going to be in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series?
I saw that something in the chat, but
I
yes.
did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the cast more or less has been released. So you know, Obi-Wan, obviously Ewan McGregor. We're gonna have Hayden Christensen come back. We've got a couple people who we've seen either in Game of Thrones or Fast and Furious, and some other people that I'm not entirely familiar with. So yeah, hopefully the series will be decent.
There's a lot of people in that show. A lot more than I realized. So yeah.
A lot. Yeah, what's her name from Game of Thrones? The Oberyn's
Sister.
woman.
Oh no, yeah, right. Yeah,
Not sister.
Right.
That's Jamie and Cersei.
right.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Let me ask this question to you guys, because I know you guys are
Sure.
Star Wars fans. So you guys know how the story ends. I guess the Star Wars story.
Unfortunately, yes.
So, so when you watch the prequel series of these solo characters, does it at all like change your image of the show, knowing how the grand scheme of the storyline ends?
Yeah, to me, it only makes it worse. Like, now, I mean, in fairness, like,
except Rogue
So-
One, that was good.
yeah, but I mean, Rogue One, like, it's not so much a prequel. It's just before the first Star Wars movie. Like, it's the story before the story started, basically, right? So it's a good movie.
That's why it's good.
Solo is obviously it's a prequel. It's about Han Solo. I think Solo is fine. Like, I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible. Like, it's not a bad movie. The original prequels were, to me, just unwatchable. Like, they look like garbage, and they're so CGI, and they're, of course, now it's like old CGI,
Yeah.
and the story is not compelling. It's boring. It's about like taxes and stuff, and like, I mean, it is.
The
It's
life that we
lot of
live,
it-
Justin. Shit.
Yeah, a lot of, and then the sequel series, like, they basically just said, hey, let's make more movies so that we can like burn down the house that these other movies built, because the sequel series is just it's not good either. It's not, I mean, like, I'm not really excited about this Obi-Wan series, because like we know like what happens to the character, and it's such a short window in time.
Well, we know Frank doesn't, but that's
right.
I'm
but,
sure he dies like everybody else.
yeah, I mean, like, it's
Surprise.
like I would be okay if Star Wars just took a break for a while.
I agree, dude. I don't care.
Like, I mean,
Mandalorian out there, bro.
you know,
that
I'll
last
watch this
episode
stuff.
was pretty fucking boss though.
Yeah, it was.
It was, but
Yeah.
still, like, I don't care enough to watch another whole series.
Fair.
Yeah, it's
And that's where I'm kind of at too. Like, Game of Thrones has about 2 more series of like different stories before I lose interest. Like, at the end of the day, I fucked up the original series, the show version.
Yeah.
I don't trust you guys anymore to have a story and not fuck it up.
I agree.
So that's
Well-
kind of where I'm at when it comes to when you do so many prequel stories and spin-offs. It's like, all right, man, enough.
Well, Frank, it's like the thing I sent you on Instagram about George R.R. Martin signing a 5-year HBO deal with like 6 Game of Thrones series, and
Yeah,
your
that's
response
like,
was your response was what?
I don't give a shit. Finish the goddamn books. That's where I'm at right now. Like, I spent a better part of my 20s reading those books. I'm 36 now, and you still have the last 2 books written, and you're over here doing other series and spin-offs and shows that, to me, is like Weiss and Benioff destroy they destroy shows for me as far as like, the Game of Thrones world. Like I mean, I know there's gonna be different showrunners, but at this point, my trust with you guys it's dissipated. It's almost non-existent now.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I've said this before. I don't think he's ever going to finish the story because I don't think he knows how it ends.
Yeah, same here.
That's why I think that he looks for other opportunities to do other stuff, but just the way like you're just punting the ball. Like you don't want to like, make that call. So
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
And people think the show was convoluted. There are twice as many characters in the books.
Oh yeah.
It was so convoluted that they combined characters for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, had the books had an ending, the show's ending would have been so much better.
Yep.
Because Benioff and Weiss, they were able to adapt the story, but once they got past the story, then it was like they didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
So
But we did, and that's why we did the episode Making the Eight, how we would have fixed Game of Thrones. I'm gonna put a card up here, that way people can check it out and hear what we had to say, because it was a hell of a lot better than what we got.
Oh yeah,
it was.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, that's just, that's the burden we carry. We're just the greatest show ever. And so
And so humbled.
that's a great way to end this episode. So anyway, well, first off, Brittany, how can people find the greatest show ever?
Don't confuse it with The Greatest Showman movie, although it's a great movie. We are the watchers.
We can sing also. We can definitely sing.
Hey, I'm all for it. I love that movie. Okay, I'm all for it. No. So find the Watchers in the Basement on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell on our channel. That way you can be the first to find out the latest video uploads from us. Don't forget to give us likes, leave a comment. We'll be sure to comment. If video podcasts are not your thing, that's cool. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, thanks to anchor.fm, where they make it super easy for you to have a podcast. And last but not least, be sure to use the hashtag Watchers Basement when tweeting at us, and let us know what you would like for us to review, and let us know how we're doing and what we could do different or better. Or if we're great, that's cool. Like, just let us know we're great.
We'll take it. Thanks, Brittany. So for Brittany, for George, for Frank, this is Justin saying we'll see you next week as we review episode 3 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. See ya. Bye.
bye.